Mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says enlightenment brings to us the knowledge that the ego is only an instrument. We begin to perceive and feel that these things are our own in the sense that they belong to our supreme and integral self, one with the transcendent, not to the instrumental ego. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 6, The Book of Fate, Canto 2, The Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain, page 457. A greatness in thy daughter's soul resides that can transform herself and all around, but must cross on stones of suffering to its goal. Although designed like a nectar cup of heaven, of heavenly ether made, she sought this air, she too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain. The mind of mortal man is led by words. His sight retires behind the walls of thought and looks out only through half-open doors. He cuts the boundless truth into sky strips, and every strip he takes for all the heavens. He stares at infinite possibility and gives to the plastic vase the name of chance. He sees the long results of an all-wise force planning a sequence of steps in endless time, but in its links imagines a senseless chain or the dead hand of cold necessity. He answers not to the mystic mother's heart, misses the ardent hewings of her breast, and feels cold, rigid limbs of lifeless law. The will of the timeless working out in time, in the free absolute steps of cosmic truth. He thinks a dead machine or unconscious fate. A magician's formulas have made matter's laws, and while they last, all things by them are bound. But the Spirit's consent is needed for each act, and freedom walks in the same pace with law. All here can change if the magician chose. If human will could be made one with God's, if human thought could echo the thoughts of God, man might be all-knowing and omnipotent. But now he walks in nature's doubtful ray, yet can the mind of man receive God's light? The force of man can be driven by God's force. Then is he a miracle doing miracles. For only so can he be nature's king. It is decreed and Satyavan must die. The hour is fixed, chosen the fatal stroke. What else shall be is written in her soul, but till the hour reveals the fateful script, the writing waits illegible and mute. Fate is truth working out in ignorance. O King, thy fate is a transaction done at every hour between nature and thy soul, with God for its foreseeing arbiter. Fate is a balance drawn in destiny's book. Man can accept his fate, he can refuse. Even if the one maintains the unseen decree, he writes thy refusal in thy credit page. For doom is not a close, a mystic seal, arisen from the tragic crash of life, arisen from the body's torture and death. The spirit rises mightier by defeat. Its godlike wings grow wider with each fall. Its splendid failures sum to victory. O man, the events that meet thee on thy road, though they smite thy body and soul with joy and grief, are not thy fate. They touch thee awhile and pass. Even death can cut not short thy spirit's walk. Thy goal, the road thou choosest, are thy fate. On the altar, throwing thy thoughts, thy heart, thy works, thy fate is a long sacrifice to the gods, till they have opened to thee thy secret self and made thee one with the indwelling God. O soul, intruder in nature's ignorance, armed traveler to the unseen supernal heights, thy spirit's fate is a battle and ceaseless march against invisible opponent powers, a passage from matter into timeless self. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother, taken from the compilations of the works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother, book Looking from Within, topic Ordeals and Difficulties, subtopic Discouragement and Depression. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, all who enter the spiritual path have to face the difficulties and ordeals of the path, those which rise from their own nature and those which come in from outside. The difficulties in the nature always rise again and again till you overcome them. They must be faced with both strength and patience. But the vital part is prone to depression when ordeals and difficulties rise. This is not peculiar to you, but comes to all sadhaks. It does not imply an unfitness for the sadhana or justify a sense of helplessness, but you must train yourself to overcome this reaction of depression. All who cling to the path steadfastly can be sure of their spiritual destiny. If anyone fails to reach it, it can only be for one of the two reasons, either because they leave the path or because for some lure of ambition, vanity, desire, etc., they go astray from the sincere dependence on the divine. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, do not allow any discouragement to come upon you and have no distrust of the divine grace. Whatever difficulties are outside you, whatever weaknesses are inside you, if you keep firm hold on your faith and your aspiration, the secret power will carry you through. Even if you're oppressed with opposition and difficulties, even if you stumble, even if the way seems close to you, keep hold of your aspiration, keep firm on the way. Then, in the end, things open out of themselves and circumstances yield to the inner spirit. Our Divine Mother talks about depression and says, depression is a sign of weakness, of a bad will somewhere, and a bad will in the sense of a refusal to receive help, and a kind of weakness that's content to be weak. One becomes slack. The bad will is obvious because there's a part of your being which tells you at that moment depression is bad. You know that you shouldn't get depressed. Well, the reply of that part which is depressed is almost, shut up, I want my depression. Try, you will see, you can try. It's always like that. And then later on, one says again, afterwards I shall see. For the moment I want it, and besides, I have my own reasons. There you are. It is a kind of revolt, a weak revolt, the revolt of something weak in the being. Our Divine Mother says, when one comes out of the depression and one's bad will, well, then one realizes that there was an attack and that some progress has to be made, and that in spite of everything, something within has made progress, that one has taken a step forward. Our Divine Mother says, usually, hardly consciously, it is something which needs to progress but does not want to, so takes this way like a child which sulks, like a child who sulks, becomes low spirited, sad, unhappy, misunderstood, abandoned, helpless, and then refusing to collaborate, as I just said, indulging in his depression to show that he is not happy. It is specially in order to show that one is not satisfied that one becomes depressed. One can show it depending on the case. One can show it to the divine, one can show it to the people around, but it is always a kind of expressing one's dissatisfaction. I am not happy about what you demand, but this means I am not happy, and I shall make you too to see it that I am not happy. But when it is over, and when for some reason or other one has made the necessary effort to come out of it and has come out, one usually realizes that something in the being has changed, because, in spite of all bad will, most often the progress was accomplished. Not very swiftly, not very brilliantly, not for one's greater glory, surely, but still the progress was made, but something has changed. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, why do you indulge in these exaggerated feelings of remorse and despair when these things come up from the subconscious? They do not help and make it more or not less difficult to eliminate what comes. Such returns of an old nature that is long expelled from the conscious parts of the beings always happen in sadhana. It does not at all mean that the nature is unchangeable. Try to recover the inner quietude. Try to recover the inner quietude. Draw back from these moments and look at them calmly, reducing them to their true proportions. Your true nature, says our Lord, is that in which you have peace and ananda and love of the divine. This other is only a fringe of the outer personality, which, in spite of these returns, is destined to drop away as the true being extends and increases. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says there is no reason to be so much cut down or despair of your progress. Evidently, you have had a surging up of the old moments, but that can always happen so long as there is not an entire change of the old nature, both in the consciousness and the subconscious parts. The one thing to do is to be quiet, to quiet yourself and get back into the true consciousness and poise. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, do not allow yourself to admit any moment of vital depression, still less a depressed condition. As for the external being, it is always, not only in you but in everyone, a difficult animal to handle. It has to be dealt with patience and a quiet, cheerful perseverance. Never get depressed by its resistance, for that only makes it more sensitive and aggrieved and difficult or else discouraged. Give it rather the encouragement of sunlight and a quiet pressure, and one day you will find it opening entirely to the grace. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says one must learn to go forward on the path of integral yoga with a consciousness free from despondency. Even if one slips, one must rectify the posture. Even if one falls, one has to rise and go undiscouraged on the divine way. The attitude must be, the divine has promised himself to me if I cleave to him always, that I will never cease to do whatever may come. The great need in all crises and attacks to refuse to listen to any suggestions, impulses, lures, oppose to them all the call of the truth, the imperative beckoning of the light. In all doubt and depression, to say, I belong to the divine, I cannot fail. To all the suggestions of impurity and unfitness, to reply, I am a child of immortality chosen by the divine. I have but to be true to myself and to him. The victory is sure. Even if I fell, I would rise again. To all impulses, to serve more smaller ideal, to reply, this is the greatest, this is the truth that alone can satisfy the soul within me. I will endure through all tests and tribulations to the very end of the divine journey. This is what I mean by faithfulness to the light and calm. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, difficulty cannot be overcome by running away from it. It is not by tormenting yourself with remorse and harassing thoughts that you can overcome. It is by looking straight at yourself very quietly with a quiet and firm resolution, and then go on cheerfully, bravely, in full confidence and reliance, trusting in the grace, serenely and vigilantly, anchoring yourself on your psychic being. That is the true way, and there is no other. To keep steady one's aspiration, look at oneself with an absolute sincerity are the sure means to overcome obstacles, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Prayers and Meditations, June 20th, 1914. Thou must accomplish the work of transfiguration. Thou must teach us the path to be followed, and Thou must give us the power to follow it to the very end. O Thou, source of all love and all light, Thou whom we cannot know in Thyself, but can manifest ever more completely and perfectly, Thou whom we cannot conceive, but can approach in profound silence to complete Thy incommensurable boons, Thou must come to our help until we have gained Thy victory. Let that true love be born which suits all suffering. Let that true love be born which suits all suffering. Establish that immutable peace wherein resides true power. Give us the sovereign knowledge which dispels all darkness. From the infinite depths to this most external body, in its smallest elements, Thou dost move and live and vibrate and set all in motion, and the whole being is now only a single block, infinitely multiple yet absolutely coherent, animated by one tremendous vibration. Thou. Prayers and Meditations, June 19th, 1914. Fill our hearts with the delight of Thy love. Flood our minds with the splendor of Thy light. Grant that we may effectuate Thy victory. Prayers and Meditations, June 20th, 1914. Thou must accomplish the work of transfiguration. Thou must teach us the path to be followed, and Thou must give us the power to follow it to the very end. O Thou, source of all love and all light, Thou whom we cannot know in Thyself, but can manifest ever more completely and perfectly, Thou whom we cannot conceive, but can approach in profound silence to complete Thy incommensurable boons, Thou must come to our help until we have gained Thy victory. Let that true love be born which suits all suffering. Establish that immutable peace wherein resides true power. Give us the sovereign knowledge which dispels all darkness. From the infinite depths to this most external body, in its smallest elements, Thou dost move and live and vibrate and set all in motion, and the whole being is now only a single block, infinitely multiple yet absolutely coherent, animated by one tremendous vibration. Thou.